So what did we talk about today? Periods.
Period is dirty.
A lot of blood
Yeah.
everywhere. So is period really dirty?
Let's get to find out.
You find out when you listen to this episode. Hello, and welcome back to the Talk No One Talks About, where I bring you very important conversations. And on this season, we'll be discussing everything you have to or you need to know about menstrual hygiene, periods, and period care. One topic at a time, right? So today, on this very first episode, I have two very amazing people with me. I have the amazing Miriam and Eugenia. Please tell us your name and what you do.
Hi, my name is
Hello,
Miriam
gorgeous.
Sule, and I am a writer and a communication strategist.
Mm-hmm. You're doing
Over
that.
to you.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
My name is Eugenia Onhumba. I'm an entrepreneur and also a peer educator working with Global Women Health Rights and Empowerment Initiative.
Thank you very much. That's very detailed.
Mhm.
Yeah. And Miriam decided to keep it very humble on us. You can Google her hot stuff. So I want to ask you my very first question. What was the first message, right? What was the very first message you ever received about periods? Like the first idea that you got about periods? You can start, Miriam.
I think for me, it was being in boarding school. So I was usually the youngest in my class. So all my mates were menstruating before me.
Same here.
And there was just the idea that, oh, you can't get pregnant. You can do whatever you like with boys now. But when you start menstruating, that's when you get pregnant. So that's like the first idea. So when menstruation comes, then pregnancy can come.
Oh, okay.
I know, very interesting.
But like they were having sex in school. Yeah.
I think they're just alluding to the fact that boys and girls are touching themselves, like that
Oh.
era where you're smooching and all of that. So
Impressive.
they're like, oh, you can do all of this now, but when you start your period, you
Right.
can't do all of this.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Let's hear you, Eugenia.
Yeah. For me, first the messages I got earlier were that period is dirty. Yeah, while we were in school, I started my period in school also. And then there's a way our mates used to laugh at each other when you get 10 in class, and then they'll say, oh, you are dirty. You're dirty.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was very shameful.
Sad for something that people can't control.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, I think that at the end of the day, we all grow because perhaps there's some of us who had the same train of thoughts, but we have to grow out of it.
Yeah.
So there's no shame in learning
Yeah.
to be better. What are the stigmas
Mhm.
that are attached to periods?
For me, it's that idea that you're unclean, that
Mhm.
you're dirty. Yeah, that's it. That's a huge one for me.
So let's hear.
Yeah. For me, the stigma attached to it, the discrimination, the disconnection, the social disconnection it gives
To women, to people when they're on
Yeah,
their
yeah.
periods.
to menstruators, all menstruators.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we like expatiate on that?
Yes, there's this social disconnection that people get, especially when they're menstruating. Yeah. In the case of people who are not aware of menstrual products, sometimes they easily get stain outside, and then you see people disconnecting from them, like looking at them like dirty kind of people. And then you see some, they can't even hide it, they voice it out. This person is dirty, this person is stinking, I can't stay around this person, I can't stay close to this person. You see, in the case of parties, when you go to parties and then a menstruator, I don't want to mention just ladies because there are other people who menstruate
gender
also.
diverse
Yeah.
people will see.
Yeah. So you see people who menstruate, when they get stained at occasion, you see people disconnecting from them. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yeah, I think that that's particularly true.
Yeah.
Because if people were to treat period stain like they'll treat food stain or anything,
Yeah.
nobody's frowning when you
Yeah,
have smear soup on
exactly,
your
yeah.
shirt or something.
Yeah.
I even want to talk about the fact that, like, even just seeing pads, like whether it has blood on it or like you just see pad open, a lot of people just avoid it
Yeah,
or
they just
imagine
hiss.
that it's dirty or something.
Hmm.
So there's also that.
So who do you think benefits from keeping menstruation a taboo? Please. It's always the men that are
Yeah.
benefiting.
Yeah, for me, not my feeling, but what I know. Yeah, the patriarchal society. Yeah, they benefit it because it gives them control over women's bodies and their reproductive health.
Yes.
And all people who menstruate, it gives them that control. And yeah, I think it also reinforces that gender inequality. You know,
Yes.
yeah, they don't like, you know, the patriarchy society, they don't like that equality before the law. Yeah. So it reinforces the inequality. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it benefits them.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I'm glad that you took us there
Mhm.
because the patriarchy seeks to control women, and period is one very serious way. It's like you're having a conversation and then someone is doing something obviously they shouldn't be doing or reacting,
Yeah.
and or you react to like a colleague acting out of character or
Yeah.
insubordination or something, and then you hear stuff like, you and your period, you're so angry today. There's that. There's also the fact that it clouds their sense of judgment and how seriously people take you during these times. So yeah, this is a whole deep conversation. Who do you think is benefiting from keeping periods a taboo?
The patriarchy, and I think that they do that in so many ways. So there's the religious aspect and there's the societal aspect. So from the religious aspect, there's the fact that religious leaders tend to, so for instance, like Islam, periods are something that women can't pray on their periods. Women can't fast. They can't even fast on their periods. And I don't think that Islam women pray with the men. So imagine that when you're now on your period. For Christians, I don't think
it's that. They don't pray with the men.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. And then they still have to be separate from the women who don't see periods at that time.
Yep.
Oh.
And then during fasting, even when you're doing that at home, you can't fast. You can't pray because you're on your period. But even with Christianity, I don't think it's as bad. But then there's there was something, was it Salome that pointed it out now, about the women with the issue of blood, and that was one of the earliest. That was one of the earliest stories that a lot of people knew about periods. So having these conversations and not necessarily going deep into the whys or why you think it's unclean, sort of, it makes women more silent. Women don't now talk about the issues. We're talking about how if we want to, say, push for a policy where the government is providing for women who menstruate, we have to talk about it. And if we're silent, we can't talk about it. And if we're silent, they can't even make these plans to say, okay, let's say there are 100 women. Now we know there are 100 women that need this protection. But if you don't know that, like if women are not talking about it, then you don't know the number to account for. Do you understand? So
yeah. So yeah, but like it won't be on my watch that Christianity gets to go off the hook like that.
Exactly. I was about saying something about it also. Yeah.
Please, because Christianity has been just as damaging as Islam has been.
So I don't
Abrahamic
remember
religions.
Because it's all round.
Yeah,
it's all round.
And like people like to approach Christianity with the, what they call them, living faith. Is it living faith church?
Yeah.
I view. There's also the Catholic church. There's also the white garment church.
And that, like me, on my side,
sectors.
when I'm talking about Christianity, I don't point out a particular group. I talk about them in general because they do almost the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you go to the Christian churches, there is this stigma on women when they're menstruating, not just women, but anyone menstruating. There is this stigma on them. They will state clearly that if you are on your period, you shouldn't be at so position. Yes. I know I'm not lying. Some people watching this, they can affirm to this. There are some churches that they have a rule. If you're on your period, you are not to come to church. and then after your period, I don't want to mention
mean,
that thing, but after that period, you undergo a cleansing section before you resume back.
It sounds like those white garments.
Exactly. I don't want to
yeah.
mention, but yeah, we're
I
here
think that they
again.
don't also do their
Yeah.
prayer rites or whatever
Yes.
when they're on their period. Some of
Yes.
them.
Do you know, this is
And there are
news for
some
me, actually.
Christian churches that you don't take communion when you're on your
Yes.
period.
Okay, that
Yes,
one I
so
know.
it's all over.
Yeah, so
Yeah, true,
I think that
actually.
that's the difference, right?
Mhm.
So when we talk about Christianity, sometimes we forget that
Yeah.
it's like a whole thing.
Mhm.
It's not just our experience of it, and it's just anyway.
And
So
under the guise of,
what?
I was going to say, and under the guise of purity and cleanliness, because that's also how you think of religion.
Yeah,
That you want to be pure, you want to
Yeah.
be clean,
yeah,
and then when you put with that stigma, when you put menstruation side by side, that idea, it feels like, oh, women are unclean because they are bleeding and thus cannot be, pure and accepted by Lord.
Yeah. That immediately came to mind when Eugenia mentioned period being unclean and impure, because I was like, oh, that's definitely religion. That's definitely religion. So, but like, I feel like there's something there that we can talk about,
Yeah.
like how we can have delicate, reasonable conversations about period care and hygiene
Yeah.
without necessarily saying, oh, you're stinking, you have to hide, you have to keep your mouth shut, you have to be separate from people, you have to be very mindful of your body and the way that you're out there because you're on your period. So, I want to ask how menstruation intersects with gender identity and disabilities. How do you think?
So I would say that there's already the idea that people who menstruate are unclean when they are menstruating, right? There's the idea of the blood and everything. So, and then there's also the idea that disabled people in Nigeria, you see how they treat disabled people. From blind people to, people who can't hear and stuff. So just add menstruation to that. Or say, I'm even taking it so far, say someone with Down syndrome, right?
Yeah.
Add that this person is bleeding and think of how the average Nigerian would think of that person. Would just see it as this person is dirty times two, or like, shouldn't be included in this conversation. You even see them take their nose up and stuff, and they're already like marginalized in their own community. So when you now add that layer, it's like double marginalization for me. That's how I'm thinking about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel there is this compounding stigma around this people living with disability and then the gender identity. There's this compounding stigma, the discrimination among the two. Yes. There's a limit where they get resources that are limited to education, proper education. There's something they said. Information is knowledge, and knowledge is power. So when you have access to that knowledge, you feel better. You feel you owe the world. You feel you owe the power. You feel you have the power. But then this compounding stigma around them makes them feel less. Yeah, there is this.
I was going to say something before I forget.
All right, please let's have it.
So say I want to give an example of how Nigeria spaces generally, they don't have access for disability, like people living with disabilities. So say you had like let's say this building, you said, oh, everybody come, I'm giving out free pads, and then there's no space that disabled people can pass, then they're already they're already excluded from that conversation. So even if you're doing that good thing, there are already people who wouldn't have access to that, and that's something I think we should also all take note of in our daily lives.
And sometimes it's quite unintentional, right? Because we are just unaware of certain things. And it like, so a couple of years ago, I went to an orphanage and I saw this young girl. She had cerebral palsy, so she couldn't like move. She had no control of her bodies, and I just wanted to get her a wheelchair. See, I didn't even think she sees periods at that point. Again, sometimes it's unintentional. I didn't think, I was like, oh, so she just never goes out to see the sun, and she's just always indoors. And I asked the lady who takes care of them, and she was like, oh, sometimes she manages to bring her outside, but they're not as often as she
It
does with the
should.
other kid, and she's a teenager even.
Yeah.
So I know that first day I was like, oh, I know what I need to do. I need to raise money for a wheelchair, or like get someone to give me a wheelchair for this kid. And so I went on Twitter and then crowdfunded for it. So while I was crowdfunding for her, I raised a whole lot of money. And I was like, oh, this orphanage, like I was overwhelmed with it. And when I went out to get stuff, like I got food, I got clothes, I got for all of the kids, right? Because people wanted me to do that. And I was at the supermarket there, and I started getting pad. No, I walked past the pad and I was like, wait, this girl is 16. She sees periods. And at that moment, I felt like I didn't even think about this. I was getting cartons of noodles and all of that. But this was the kid that already raised the money, and she doesn't even need so much, right? Just not like she definitely doesn't have like as much needs as the other kids there, because she doesn't walk, she doesn't talk or anything. And there's just so little I could do for her, or we could all do for her. And then that beat skipped me. And I think that I remember because I was on my period or something. But I had a moment where I was like, wait, I didn't even intentionally plan to cut this person out of it. But I can see how sometimes we are very unintentional about the things that we do, and how it can affect people's lives, and how people should like go out of their way to think, okay, not just the people that look like me or are like me, how does it affect other people who don't necessarily have my own experiences?
Yeah. So I think this is a call for like intentionality, like thinking beyond yourself.
Yeah, I'm actually glad she said something about the disabled people, people with disability, the gender diverse people. Again, they find it difficult using the public toilets. The toilet, when you go out there, if you go to the airports or any open place, you see just female and male, and then sometime imagine a trans man or a trans woman walking into the toilet. There was a story I was watching. A trans woman was in the toilet, and then she said while she walked in, another woman walked in and then saw her trying to use the toilet, and then raised the alarm that there was a man in the toilet.
So like how does she know that? So because
there are some trans men that have not undergone that transition, but they like to be addressed as women.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. So the woman now called the security that there was a man in the toilet.
I think this happens to mask women a lot.
Yeah. And then they came to arrest her. So I was asking the security that came and arrested her, what were they arresting her for? She was in the toilet alone. Not as if someone was in before she came. She was in there before another person came. And there was actually another toilet to use. But then they decided she decided to raise alarm as if there was a crime that she committed or something. So I feel there should be provision for that also.
Okay. So I definitely get the vision, but it's like that's a far cry from where we are as a society, because Nigeria is still hell bent on criminalizing the existences of gender diverse people, or like queer people in general.
But at least see, I'm angry about this, but at least if they cannot make provision for the gender diverse people, then how about the people living with disabilities? I don't like calling them these disabled people. I just like I love to refer to them as people living with disabilities.
Yeah. Again, we live in very selfish societies where people cannot see beyond their own very myopic and
not so much on our society. I think it's just a product of where we're at, like poverty. Like if you're, I don't know if you know this, there's this triangle, Maslow's law of something. You've probably seen it. They use it as a meme these days. If you don't get food, you don't get water, you don't get a roof above your head, there are very little other things that you can care for. And in Nigeria, we're still dealing with finding food. We're still dealing with finding water.
How many of
we're
us
still
are?
dealing with...
I'm not talking about me and you. Underplay the population of people who live in poverty. I'm just going to say that this is a situation that cuts across all classes of Nigerians. So whenever that happens, again, I'm a very theoretical person, as I am a practical person. Whenever that happens, strike out the option of poverty or finance. So
Mm-hmm.
because now, if we go to rural areas, let's say my community, for instance, both the men and women use the same spaces. They use, yes.
Yeah.
We have like I'm from a
When you
riverine
say the same
area.
spaces, what do you mean?
That's what I'm getting at. I'm from a
Mhm.
riverine area, so that means the river where they have their baths, where they poop, where they fetch water,
Oh,
where
okay,
they
okay. I
shower.
understand what
It's
you
the same
mean.
place.
Mhm.
The same place, and nobody's raising alarm that there's anybody different
Mhm.
here, right? So it makes it more of an individual or a selfish thing, or like it just people having the desire to control other people or to hurt other people.
Yeah. Sorry, to add to that, I think the distinction between what you're saying and what I'm saying is personal and on a systemic level.
Yeah.
On a personal level, you can actually say that, yes, because when you think about it, actually, we don't really care about these things. And when you
Yeah.
even like backdate language and how we speak, you hear that there are no pronouns in language.
Yeah.
And these are things that we learned. But when you now take it to a systemic level, that's where you start hearing things like, oh, we've not even eaten. And you want to now start bringing this. Like we're having the conversation of, oh, should pads be free?
So
there are people who will
do
say,
you feel
oh,
like that's a conversation that they bring up to deflect?
it could be.
It's like how they say we have, like during NSAS, and then we're having those rallies, and then everybody's like, oh, queer lives matter too. Please, we are not talking about that right now. We're trying to survive.
Yeah. I would say to answer this specific thing and not to answer the NSAS and queer. To answer the specific thing, I would say that it could be. I just think that things have. I don't believe in black and white. Like there are different shades of gray. Yes, exactly. So if we're going to look at things like this, we have to look at all the nuances around it as well. So yeah, that's what I'll say about that.
It's great. I also particularly do not understand the bathroom squabble ever, because I've used public, no kidding, I've used so many public bathrooms and I've never seen women naked in any of them. There are always doors. There's like, it doesn't even matter. There are always doors and nobody has seen me naked too in a public bathroom. And I keep telling people, men don't need to identify as women to see women naked, right? Or to be perverted or whatever. Just last week, there was a case of an Access Bank. Was it Access Bank staff who installed cameras in their female bathrooms and has just been looking at women watching
and has been making money from it. Videos.
Yeah, women using the toilets casually, minding their business, unending. It just has different videos of women using the toilet. I'm like, oh,
that's
okay.
So
now nobody has that opera. But if a trans woman was to use a public bathroom, the whole
everybody
world,
would be crying.
Everybody,
yes,
everybody.
So, I want to ask us, what do you think, or what would you say are the practical ways we can normalize periods in our everyday lives to make the period discourse more casual, more normal?
So away from these conversations that we're having right now, like podcasts and stuff, one example I use in my daily life is when I'm going to the toilet and I'm in an official space, I don't hide my pad or my tampons. Like, you will know that I'm menstruating. It's not like I'm going to advertise it, but at the same time, I'm not going to hide it because I'm ashamed that I have a period. Like, everybody knows that women bleed. So I think that's one way. The more they see that, oh, this is something. And also when people try to shame you for it, like, challenge that conversation. That's one way. I'll think of others, but
Yeah, I think for me, there should be open conversations. Like, people should stop being scared of talking about period in public. It should be open.
Yeah.
Like, very open. They should be free.
Yeah. So like this thing you said reminds me of something that I absolutely love that's been going on on Twitter for like 3 years now. At first on Twitter, it's also difficult to have period conversations because when you do, people want to shut you down. And then there's this amazing thing that women on Twitter do where you talk about like, oh, my mood today or my period today wants to kill me, and then there's one fool like, oh, women don't keep anything sacred anymore. Do we have to know you're on your period? And then there's like thousands of women now saying my period blood is so yucky, my period is flowing, I'm free bleeding right now. They're just bombarding you with more period information. And I do it too. I do it even when I'm on my period. I'm just like, oh, what gross period thing can I say to piss this person off? I love it so much because again, it makes people, whether you care to or not, whether you feel a kind of way about women on their periods or not, you're gonna hear it.
Yeah,
Yes.
whether you like
It forces people to deal with it. And why I think that is so good for us as a society is these people have real lives and real people who see periods in their lives, and like it or not, it's going to wear them down and affect the way that they are with those people in real life.
One thing I'm glad you brought up free bleeding, because it reminds me of one time where I did an interviewed women. I think it was about how they deal with periods. And one woman said that she free bleeds on her period. By the time I published the article, like, Nigerians were crying. What do you mean she free bleeds? What's this? Dirty? Down. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to write more. And I wrote a whole article on free bleeding itself because I wanted everyone to know. And I feel like free bleeding is also something every woman does. Maybe not intentionally. Yes. Maybe not intentionally, but you free bleed to some extent. Like, if your period started while you were outside and you don't have pad, that's free bleeding. But the way we think of, maybe not us in this room, but the way, like, there's this stigma around blood, hearing free bleeds, like, like, why are you not using period products? Like, you're dirty yet. Like, that's something I remember.
Also, I think that a lot of times people forget that we have different period experiences, right? Because I met someone, I think it was last year, she has such heavy flow. First of all, she doesn't see her period every month. But when it comes, then it's here to stay. And it's like just a downpour. So she has absolutely no other option than to free bleed. So she'll free bleed for like minutes and stuff. Then she has like a relief to now wear heavy flow pads and all of that. So look outside of your box or whatever. We don't care that your period does not force you to free bleed. Don't encroach on the people who do and make them feel less for it.
There's not enough research about periods. There are different, what I call it, issues now, for lack of a better word. There is women with more painful periods. There's like things like PCOS, there's endometriosis. There are so many other issues like that. And I realized that we actually don't have a lot of information about these things. Like, you don't know, what causes what, apart from go and take birth control. There's no other real thing that people really do. Or like the end problem is usually go and take out your womb. But I feel like
they don't even tell you how the birth control affects you.
Yes, that's another thing. It affects your body in so many other ways. And I think that, like, not having that, information and women not being able to research about how their bodies work is one way benefits the patriarchy, because capitalism is benefiting from that. If we don't know what's happening with us, we're buying birth control, we're buying pads, we're buying this, we're buying that, and we're feeding. Yes, exactly. We're feeding capitalism, and that's where the patriarchy, is also feeding. That's the point I wanted to make.
And please don't wait for like a dialogue or like a chat or like a podcast to talk about your experience. Put it everywhere. Put it on WhatsApp, put it on Twitter, put it on Instagram, put it on Facebook, anywhere. Just say or have conversations very normally and very casually about your periods, as you do about the food that you eat and about the clothes that you wear, because it's a very normal experience.
One hot take I like to echo around menstruation is that if men were menstruating, a lot of these problems will not exist. Like, we will not have a lot of these issues.
I was saying something to a friend that if men were menstruating, all these menstrual cramps, pains, they won't be there. They will find
irregularities gone.
But because it benefits them, they don't care.
Patriarchy, capitalism.
It's men that are enjoying.
Really,
it's still benefiting them.
So I want to ask, how do you think that schools, religious spaces, and the media contribute to the silencing of women or people who see periods and the stigma around menstruation?
Nollywood, first of all. I don't know why that just came to my head. But like Nollywood.
No, because Nollywood plays a major role.
They're like the biggest. They do the worst. So like I'm not even thinking about periods now. Like, even just the idea of, you see a woman vomiting anymore, you just know that she's pregnant. And like there are so many other reasons why that could happen.
And they still do that.
Yes, they still do it like till today. Like, and that's just one way. So just think about, like, if Nollywood was to say, let's say there was funding for like a movie, that's something that we should look into. But away from this. Just funding for like a movie. Nollywood can, draft a script around maybe a young girl's life, coming of age, something that is real, realistic that children can actually watch and learn from. This is a way to solve, and I think your question was to how they
how
add.
they
Yeah. It's okay.
Sorry,
we can
Eugene.
have it all. Let's
So you
take
can
everything
speak.
that we can get
Yeah,
from Miriam today.
for me, on that media especially,
Mm.
I'm going to talk about the three, but I want to face this media especially.
Nollywood,
The
fuck
way
them again.
media silence menstruators about period, and like they keep giving wrong impressions, they keep giving wrong stories, they keep giving bad signals about menstruation, and it makes menstruators to be silent. Like they don't want to talk about it, because if they talk, people will counter them. Okay, imagine the story we were talking about, that someone posted about period, and a man was saying,
Oh, this happens
that,
every other month on Twitter.
yeah, coming to say women don't keep period as secret. What is secret about period?
Women do this thing. The conservative women,
Oh,
they do
yes.
this. They always,
Yeah.
they're the ones that are even more like, because there's something I noticed, right? Men do not necessarily always have the audacity, and men have a lot of audacity, don't get me wrong.
True.
Men don't necessarily have all the audacity to do this work themselves,
Yeah.
right? Because sometimes men react, but not exactly so direct. It takes women, the foot soldiers, to now come and say, my period is sacred to me. Why is yours not sacred to you?
What is secret about the period? I'm asking, what is secret about period?
Ask them, well.
There's nothing secret about it. And then the church, the church should stop making
religious bodies
should stop making menstruators to feel that period is a taboo. You should stop it. It's wrong.
I think that's something traditionalists have over, because traditionalists or traditional people actually think of a period, your period phase, as a sacred phase. It's like
you respect the blood. It's very powerful.
Like, you can do divinations, you can pray this period, and it's like, it's not so abominable that you shouldn't. And that's, I don't know where.
And I also think it's so interesting to me, because like traditionalists, and these are the people that, like, according to Christians and Muslims, they are like far back in their thinking. But are they really?
I think they're actually thinking a bit faster, because they're the ones that keep telling the world. They keep telling the world that period is very powerful.
Oh yeah, because like it or not, if we are going to be honest, colonization did its number on us, and it actually took us. Anyway, this has been such an exciting conversation.
Sorry, let me interrupt you. I'm going to fourth schools also. They're not doing enough on the menstrual health education.
They are not.
They're not doing it. True. And it's not helping.
Yes, because I noticed that I did not have the same experience with periods as a lot of other girls. So I went to a federal government school and a boarding school. That means I had like pep talks about sex education, your self-esteem. They were over flooding us with information. I'm talking how to do shakara. I'm talking you are the hottest babe. Act like it. I'm talking periods this. I'm alongside how to count your circle. I'm bad at math, so I never got it. But like how to calculate your circle and how to do this and how to take care of yourself, and then with the period care packages. But every time I interacted with younger people, right, who did not have the same educational experience as me, like people in government schools or people in private schools, especially private schools. And I say this as someone who has done period outreaches. I've gone to like communities and like rural, schools in communities, right, with pads and like a nurse or whatever to have conversations. And the work that these school proprietors or principals put me through to even have access to talk to those students is a lot, for something that actually benefits them, for something that makes them a lot better than I meet them. So yeah, you're absolutely right. School has like,
I think it's also from the pure view of thinking about it from sex. They don't want to talk. It's sex education as well. They don't want to talk about sex. So talking about periods is like, that's like adult conversation. Yes, and which is like, very silly, because like a child, like you start measuring at least like 8, 10, thereabouts. So that's funny.
So let's drop our final notes. Again, this is such a good conversation. Do not want it to end. But yeah, let's drop a final note. And I think that finally, let me just say something to people who are out there who go to schools. Please do us the favor and not talk to only the girls, because that's something that it's very micro, but it's something that I like to do.
Yeah.
And at first, the boys are going to want to tease, they're going to want to um,
Make fun.
make banter about it.
Yeah.
But it's also very important that these are young minds. I'm not saying that young boys are not vile or evil or bullies or whatever. I'm saying that sometimes we have to force them, not like force, like, oh, you must sit down. They have to learn how to be normal around periods.
Yeah.
And it starts there. It starts from when they are younger, when they have friends, when they have younger ones, when they have sisters and cousins that see periods and how they react to them. Yeah, so any last minute notes?
So my final take today would be that if you work in an office space, don't hide your pads or your tampon. Show everybody that you're menstruating. Everybody know, because it's not a secret. So yeah,
Inconvenience them.
because they inconvenience us all the time.
Oh, they do. They do.
So yeah.
So I want everyone there to make his or her own workplace a period-friendly environment, and they should always be open. A period open discussion. Feel free. Learn new things.
Mhm.
At your end, you can also encourage people around you.
Yeah. And take those things out of the workplace to your houses, to your churches, to your parties, everywhere. Just worry people with that period stuff. Worry them a lot. All right. Thank you so much. This has been such an exciting conversation. Until the next time, goodbye from the talk no one talks about.